Good morning everyone, I'm Jessica Dyer and I work in Leather Shop. Currently I look after the cutting and sewing team, and I'm here to talk to you about a recent improvement and some opportunities to further improve. We had a problem with the uplift whereby the cutting machines, so the small drawing here, sorry, weren't able to complete the volume required. So the requirement with the increase was 26 units per day to a 34-minute tact. The cycle times for the different models that we have, so the RR6 for instance against the RR31 are two different. So you can't just put through a one system flow, them one after the other. So we have 4 machines to spread across the tact time, so it doesn't work the same way. But still, with the 4 machines, we can't achieve the overall 34-minute drum beat due to various issues. So the problem is we can't achieve it. We're actually achieving 18.4 units against the target of 26, and the available minutes that we have to cut in is 884, and we're actually only using the cutting machine for 625 minutes at a time. The average utilisation, so the productivity of those machines, is only running at 70%, so we've got 30% wastage. Due to all the previous things I've just mentioned, so the cycle times, the variation in the work, it's quite a difficult problem to start looking at. So what we did is we got the team involved and we started to do some work studies, so time and motion studies, spaghetti diagrams, reviewing them in their working environment, seeing if there's anything that we could improve for them. So from the spaghetti diagram, we noticed that the nester was doing a lot of unnecessary movements, and some of these were quite stressful on their posture. So leaning over the cutting table, going to and from a computer, which is a non-value added piece of work. So we sat down with the associate and said, how could we make this better for you? Where we introduced a paddle so that they could reach into the table without putting any stress on their back. There's limited space around, so we had a little move around of some of the horses and put them into bays next to the hide marking table, so it's easier to retrieve the leather and pull it back forward. So the limited space around there is still limited, so we couldn't change too much. From the volume perspective, although we've done these changes, we still can't achieve it. It works out that we would need 6 cutting machines to be able to achieve the required volume, running at 70% utilisation. So the SMED analysis we did, which is single minute exchange of dies, we looked into their changeover process. So at the beginning of a shift, they would have to change the blade, do an SPC check to make sure that the cutter was working within its parameters. This wasn't necessary to do this at the beginning of every shift, so what we've done is removed the 2 a day and moved it down to 1 per day, so that the associate is only doing that changeover once a day, so that's significantly reduced it. And also there's no visual management in the area for them to see where they are against the tact, because they haven't got that 34-minute drum beat, the same as other departments. They could lose where they are because they have a long cycle time, so the R31 is 160 minutes. So we've got a visual management in the area now to show them where they are against it, and it's a tracker that moves along with the time. So our productivity has increased ever so slightly to 90% on those cutting machines, but still unable to achieve the volume. We're doing a lot better, so we've now only lost, from the volume at the launch plan, we've lost 5 units in a week instead of 20. However, we have looked into possibilities to improve this further. So, hypothetical layout, we could introduce a different type of cutting machine. So this would completely alleviate that original ergonomic factor of leaning into the table, because it's completely accessible from every direction. So you wouldn't even need a paddle, you could access the machine. You would only need 2 machines to achieve the output. So there would be a reallocation of labour, which would support other departments because you could keep people in a business. However, we wouldn't need 4 people. The process would no longer be a bottleneck, causing other people delays, and it would work with the model mix that was coming through, and there'd be no restrictions to launch plan, which is obviously difficult when a business needs to implement any launch restrictions. And the quality control would still be measured, so we'd still measure the SPC and the TPM, so quality cost delivery, still measure all of our metrics to ensure that we are maintaining our quality standards and meeting our customers' delivery expectations, but also we can look to continuously improve on that as well. So I don't know if you can see quite clearly from the diagrams or not from where you are, but the original layout, we had a buffer of 4 at hide marking. This wasn't enough to supply the cutting machines because of the variation in cycle time. So the cutting machines cut faster than the hide markers can cut, so the material flow wasn't going through. So we have at the moment implemented an additional 4-car buffer so that the cutting machine will not run out of material. And we have moved some of the parts around to make it easier accessible for the ergonomic side of it. From the hypothetical layout, the buffer remains because the cutting machines will cut even quicker this time, but where there's 4 machines here, there's now only 2. So we've taken away 2 sorting tables, 2 nesting factors, so the space that's freed up around them makes it a lot less stressful environment for them to work in, because they can clearly see where their products go in, they can gain access to what they need to gain access to, and we can achieve the volume as a business, which obviously is always a good thing. And some of the figures, just in case you were wondering, so cutting machine capacity, so at the moment if we were to carry on the way we are, we can meet the volume as long as we don't get too many line reorders and recuts. However, from the hypothetical layout, if we were to introduce 2 cutting machines, we would increase our capacity to a total of 60. So for any future requirements, so long-term goals, we could produce 60 units. So even if we needed to support our partners in BMW Group with any test orders or training, we could do that in the future as well.
Thank you very much. That's very clear. It comes out with some compelling arguments at the end about why you should move ahead. A couple of background questions in from me. You mentioned that it was improved visual management. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so a 34-minute drumbeat in most areas, they have clocks up in the area,
yep,
which is quite an easy number where you have a tact next to it to tell you what time you need to be completed with your work process by. But where the feed isn't consistent with the cutting machine, you might have a RR6, which is going to be 60 minutes process time, followed by an R31, which is 160, because that's quite a difficult number for the associate to work out.
Mm-hmm.
So on the screen in their area now next to the cutting machine, they have a timer that goes across, and it's got a bar, so a bit like a Gantt chart, where the timer follows through, so it shows them where they should be, so it can see, are they 25% of the way through their process, are they half the way through their process, and it gives them the opportunity to flag the supervisor in the area and say, I'm behind where I need to be, so the issue is dealt with straight away rather than at the end of the day where you've lost volume, so you can catch yourself before then.
So that sounds to me as though you've improved the ergonomic situation of the associates and their cognitive awareness about the targets that they have to reach. That's very good. You also mentioned up here there's several techniques. We'll come and look at the poster in detail later, but there's several techniques that you've used in there. You just name me a couple of the techniques that are shown on that board.
Yeah, sure. So we've got the work studies from the original phase of measure and analyse. So the first one, the time study. So we would time each individual activity throughout the entire process and break it down, which forms the Yamazumi. That gives us an overall cycle time and whether or not we can improve any of it. Then the motion study is just literally watching where the associates go in throughout the whole of their process and whether any of those steps are unnecessary. The changeover time, so the single minute exchange of dye. So what is are we able to improve from the changeover? So changing the machine, so the settings, parameters, etc. They can be difficult to take away completely. However, can we reduce them? Can we streamline it so that we don't lose any of those valuable cutting minutes from the cutter?
That's fine. That's good. And then just the last thing is, although this looks to make a very good impact short term, are there any long term considerations that would come into effect if this change was made?
So if we were to introduce the cutting machines, there shouldn't be any long term effects on ergonomics other than improvement. The accessibility is so much better for the associate, and that added stress at the moment of them not being able to meet their target would be removed from them as well. So the only thing that is a little bit of a downside to this is the expense. So the cost of implementing these machines is 1.5 million. However, over a 5-year period, they would make that back.
Through increased productivity.
Yeah.
Great, that's very clear, very good. Thank you very much.